Good morning. My name is Marie Nugent, and my business is called Time to Sparkle and Shine. And I mentor and support amazing women that are maybe going through challenging times. I help with thoughts, feelings, emotions, supporting you so that you don't go through hold on a minute now. While you go through all of these big life changes. So I have with me, and I'm just getting her on. Yes, I have. It worked. I'm always in awe that these things actually happen when they're supposed to happen. I have the gorgeous Sinead Flanagan. When I heard about Sinead, and I just said, I really need to have her and chat to her, because what she has produced is just so relevant in today, with what's going on. She talks about family, she talks about anxiety, and how you can turn something that is perceived as negative into a positive. So, Sinead, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Mary. It's amazing to be here, and thank you for the opportunity. It's
Oh, not at all. Believe me, this was a no-brainer. So it was. Your background, because I know a lot of things that we create through our experience. So for you, when you started out, what what area were you working in? Because also the other thing I've discovered is that we evolve and grow, as we grow older. We take on different jobs, we change, we allow our experience to guide us. So where did you start off?
So I am a country girl. I'm a Roscommon woman, a farmer's daughter, and my degree is applied social studies. So I my honours degree. And then, so I thought I knew loads about being in touch and connected and emotional. And then I had children.
Yes. And then the reality hit.
Yeah, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And then I stopped work. Worked with juvenile youth. And
okay.
Yeah, so then I stopped work when I had my second baby and was at home and was happy to be. I did a little bit of fertility work from home, and then I wanted something else. So in my fertility journey, I really understood that the impact our mind thought process can have on our journey, whatever our journey is. And then I noticed my oldest was challenged. The only way I can describe it really is a little bit distant all of a sudden. She seemed to be in her head a lot. Little things were a challenge for her to let things go and flow with things. And I thought, Houston, we have a problem here. And we went on holidays. Really then, when we went on holidays, I said, no, okay, there's an issue here.
Yeah. Instinctively you knew that it wasn't. And she was your youngest, though, was she?
My oldest.
Your eldest. Okay, so yeah, when you have older children, it's almost like you get a sense of what the others did or didn't do. But because she was your first, it's a lot of what happens with your first is that you're actually learning as you're going along. But you just knew, and you felt that this actually wasn't, that she just wasn't. You felt that something wasn't right.
Yes, and that took a journey with my husband, because he wasn't on the same page.
Yeah.
Not normal, because it's the way anxiety presents is everyday sort of little challenges. So there isn't a big thing, there isn't a big bang. So that it's sneaky in that way, it can kind of be aversive. So that took a lot of communication and a lot of arguments, if I'm honest.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
you had two different perspectives. You were both looking at your daughter, but you looked at it from his perspective and then from your perspective. And I think that's where, the gifts that women have, that they can bring, the intuition and the understanding, and trusting your gut, that it's just not quite right.
Yes, and it can be very challenging though, because I had a conversation. I had a good relationship with school and I had a conversation. They were like, no, there's no issue. And she's very bright little kids.
Of course, yeah, yeah.
There wasn't an
But they
education.
usually are bright and creative and intuitive, also intuitive themselves. I'm not quite sure how to work with that intuition and the perception of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I am not the mummy who worries about labels. I just wanted her to get whatever she needed. But I very quickly realized that actually the system is not set up to help her in any way, shape, or form. So
Yeah,
I went to my principal and she said, look, we'll put her forward for an education assessment, but it'll be a long time before you get it. I went to the GP.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll make the referral, but it'll be a long time. And at the time I was exhausted. I thought, I need I need now.
yeah. Here and now, yeah.
Yes. So I was very lucky that I had trained as a Relaxed Kids coach. That's the direction my career was going. And I started to use that, the 7 steps.
Yeah, and what is it that drew you to the Relaxed Kids? And can you tell us a little bit about what that actually, that training involved for you?
Okay, so I suppose my learning from the fertility journey was actually our thoughts have a huge impact on our physicality and connection, that brain-body connection. And it frustrated me because I'm real prevention is better than cure and very holistic in my approach to health and wellness. So then I thought, well, why don't why aren't we not being taught that in school? Why isn't that
Yeah,
here? So that drew me to Relaxed Kids. Actually, Relaxed Kids just kept coming back.
yeah,
I was it away, and then my husband eventually went to just train, and it's just a wonderful process. So I would have gone into schools before COVID. I have done private classes, and it's a very simple. The best solutions always are very simple.
yeah,
So it's a 7-step class. So I would take the kids through movement and games and massage section, positive attitude section. So your positive affirmations, your breathing techniques, and then a guided meditation. But you're giving them the why they're doing this so that
yeah,
they understand. It's for me, and I did for a while, and then I had to stop because I realized, hang on, there are children there are parents trying to deal with the children with anxiety, but they don't have the knowledge base or the to actually have a real conversation. So your flashpoints happening in the house, the child is distressed, the parent is distressed, but they don't,
yeah,
and no disrespect to them, are not being provided with the knowledge, the actual information and the language so that they can have these conversations in a light-hearted way. So
yeah.
when your child comes down the hall in the morning, you can't go, well, are you feeling anxious today? Like, who wants to?
Well, the first thing that'll set you off feeling anxious is being asked if you are or not. It's like, oh, how do I feel? You nearly go into a panic.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I was very lucky at one of my Relaxed Kids trainings that I went to. They covered the brain and the Troon theory on the brain and the connection between the brain and the body. And I was,
yeah,
boom.
yeah. Light bulb moment.
Well, it's so simple, but it's funny. It was wonderful. I was like, yes, I'm with this. I can teach it to my child. We can have conversations about her monkey brain, much lighter. But also there was an element of grief involved in that information because I thought, now I understand how I was feeling for 20 years.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
can't we give, when
The
we
gift.
understand the
Yeah,
brain our thought process has on our physicality and our ability to take action, then it
yeah,
makes total sense that we would, as parents, we would know that so that we have children ready to learn.
yeah,
Well,
yeah. We're having. When you're actually speaking, Sinead, sometimes you're dropping out, like your sound.
okay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if whether it's sort of like happens every 15 or 20. We'll continue for the moment. And do you know what? If we have to re-record this again or go back and do it again, we can go back and do it again. We'll be old hats at it at this stage.
It actually might be the weather because there's thunder outside at the minute.
Ah, yeah, and we've closed in here as well. All of a sudden, like beautiful. I had a washout in the line this morning, and now the place is grey. You can't see a thing because of the rain. But anyway, so the Relaxed Kids, you not only did it give you, I mean, you felt you were following your heart because this is what it is you felt you needed to do, but also it gave you insight and understanding to yourself and the way that you had felt over the years. And I think anything, I always say, if you're going to do anything, do it for yourself first. And something that you're drawn to because you get huge benefits from it. So the Relaxed Kids, you went and you qualified in that, and like we all do, you started using it then on your daughter. So did she find the benefit or how? Not, I'll rephrase that. How long did the process for her to relax into it? Because sometimes when mommy's telling us to do something, it's like, oh, here we go again. I know from my own experience, So what was your experience in that?
Well, in my household, I felt that my starting point had to be sleep because of working with children and families who are dealing with anxiety. Sleep is a flashpoint.
Yeah.
I felt it's a bit like ourselves. If you have to drive to somewhere new and you've had 12 hours sleep, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you have not slept well, drive somewhere new, it's much more challenging to handle.
Yes. You have that tension within you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started on sleep, and yes, I'll put my hands up. It took 3 months of intense, consistent routine to train her body to be acting properly.
Yeah.
Anxious, and this is something that, mummies out there will connect with. Anxious children run a marathon in the bed.
Yes, they do.
They do, and you could find them find a bed at the bottom of the bed as opposed to the top of the bed.
Mm.
Take her hours to fall asleep. So I would have described her wired, tired.
Yeah.
Wanting every ounce of her wanting to sleep, but her brain was like,
and waking up exhausted then.
Yes, yeah. So everything else went out the window for about 3 to 4 months. It was literally, and I used the Relaxed Kid 7 steps and get ready for bed every night. So the other thing that blows my mind is you can retrain your brain regardless of what age you are.
Yeah.
It's possible. So I had to retrain her brain to get ready for sleep. And it's funny, like she's completely flipped that now. So right now she's gone to bed, switched off the light, complete darkness, and she's gone in seconds.
Yeah.
But
it's like a catalyst now because of the fact that you set it up, and consistency, of course, is the key. And persistence.
Yes, but also very importantly, in the beginning, I just did it, and then I learned, oh, hang on a minute, she has to get this communication from her dad. So that consistency is needed. So mum drive all the time, because you'll find with anxious children they hook into one parent, and it's very
yes.
If you're the mommy to just meet that need all the time. But part of me communicating to her that I had the belief that she could do this herself was over to daddy and going, you have this, babe. Daddy will do the routine with you.
I think you've touched on a point that's really, really important, that because sometimes the dads can get left out of a lot of things, and including him was so. It was really important, not only for her, but for him as well, because it gave him a skill set that he wouldn't normally have. I mean, you had the insight and the understanding, and you knew what it was, but it was almost like you were both, himself and her, and the dad and the daughter were being trained at the same time. So they were.
Look, it's a funny thing to say. If I had, I had to put gifts in the title of the book. That's what her anxiety brought to
Yeah.
our. Once we
Yeah.
get through the trauma of it and the initial challenge, and it's a challenge, but
Yeah.
we have better relationships. We are more connected. Uh, we're not the Brady Bunch. We don't all love each other every day. We're real.
No, nobody does.
No, we're growing together,
Yeah.
but it's a much deeper understanding of each other, and she understands herself much better, and she will still have challenge. Anxiety is not something that needs to be fixed. It's part of her personality.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of all of our personality. So one of the things that I love about the book and that excites me a lot is obviously I never imagined in a million years I'd write a book, but there you go, right, I have to get it out. And
Yeah.
when you give it to people that you know and love, and you to them, look, I've written this, will you read it? And when
Yeah.
people that that you admire, in terms of people I'd admire their people, admire how they are in the world and how they treat people. And when they come
Yeah.
say to you, oh, I'm an adult and I didn't understand that. And it's really simple.
Yeah.
And that's really, you'll find children with anxiety struggle with certain things. So if you imagine it this way, they are constantly running a mental marathon because they think they have a thought in their head that they're not quite good enough or not quite right. They're
Yeah.
that low-lying chronic.
Oh, yeah. But there's lots of adults that are running that program.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things then that's quite challenging if you're on that back foot all the time is that friendships can be really, really devastating. So I would have watched Ava coming out of school and known by the body language something was said that was hurtful.
Yeah.
And kids can be really direct.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So one of the chapters in the book is the Flower Friend, and it just gives them the language to understand how to not personal what people say about them.
Yeah. That is that's something, because we tend to take things personally, like hugely, and we tend to take what other people say as gospel when it may not be true at all, because it's only just their opinion. So for, to a child to be able to get to that level of almost like maturity, to say, do you know what, she's something going on with her, and it really is nothing to do with me.
Yes, but also to be able to say that in a way that goes, well, look, let's send her some positive vibes or something.
Yeah,
As much as you want to, sometimes because you're frustrated with what the child has said or done, you can't go so and so, because your child is potentially going to say something someday, and then they'll personalize that, and then they'll be giving out to themselves again. But also, I really needed her to get off the merry-go-round, and we've all done this, and there's a scientific explanation why we do it. Somebody says something and you don't respond because you can't in that moment because you're under attack or you feel under attack, and you don't respond. But then you come home and you're running the narrative and you're having a conversation with somebody in your head because I
mm-hmm.
said that, and and it goes round.
Yeah.
And that's stress.
Yeah.
For your body, that's stress. Whereas with the cactus friend, flower friend, you go, do you know what? She's just having a bad day. So she's just having a cactus day. Go. But then, and this part I think is really important for me, if somebody is consistently cactus, then it's not about they're this, that, it's about, well, why are you choosing to be in their company?
Okay. So, and something that's really, really important, the power of choice.
Where's your worth? So why
Yeah.
are you choosing to be in that person's company if they don't treat you with respect or they don't honor your boundaries? So,
Yeah.
and it's so simple. It's so simple.
Yeah.
When people need this book and they get it, what happens is the response I get is I read it in a night, because it's short. It's short
Yeah.
and it's simple, but it's powerful. And I wrote it in a way that the mommy who's Googling at 2 o'clock in the morning can read it and receive it, because she doesn't need big science. She just needs to know how to keep the emotions level and empower them to do what they need to do to just be themselves.
That's fantastic. And what made you think, yeah, there's definitely a book in this, and yeah, I'm the one to write it, and yes, I'm going to go and do it? Because there's always something, a light bulb moment to say, yeah, there is such a need for that. I felt it when I was doing my CD for kids, and you would be exactly the same. So at what stage were you, and what happened because certainly over the last year and a half, that's brought up a whole other slew of insights and understandings because of just the way the world was and is.
I guess I've always had the ability. Well, one, I think better than you. Two, I've always had, because I'm a farmer's daughter, the belief system that we're all equal. No experts better or worse than me. We're all equal.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
I think that it makes absolutely no sense to me that we wouldn't all feel empowered. Imagine the world where we were all creative, centered in ourselves, and just did the best that we could do. So I started to know, when I was doing private classes, I started to notice that the children coming to class were wired and tired. The parents dropping the kiddies were wired and tired. And at the time, that was a real challenge for me, because I was going, this is not what I want to be doing. I'm not the solution. This doesn't sit with me at all.
I'm not the end result. There needs to be steps taken before you even come to me.
Well, I don't believe that I should fix anything. I think what I do in class is to show you how to fix it yourself. So
yes,
it's disempowering to think that you need something outside of yourself. I wanted people
totally,
and I noticed that everybody felt like that. They felt they needed something to feel
outside themselves to make them feel good. Yeah,
and it's not. It's not. I think we're being sold a pup. That's not how it is. If you understand yourself, then you are empowered. If you're able to connect into yourself and understand how you're feeling, and understand how the body and the brain connect and how they speak to each other, and how you can take charge of that and help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, like what?
And particularly, I think it's particularly powerful if children are taught it, because I really get a sense, because they are the future and they need to be doing things differently than the way we were taught. We can get the information, but if we allow them to empower themselves, what they will achieve, and also they're going to be on the cutting edge. They're going to be making decisions for the future of humanity and mankind that that wouldn't have come up in our time. And to do that, they don't need to be dictated to by big companies. They need to feel authentic in themselves and aligned in themselves, because they will be changing the world. There is absolutely no doubt about that.
Yeah, totally. I guess for me, when I started to see, so I started to do sessions, and the way the book evolved was with sessions. So I did the family session, just an hour and a half, and the parents were going, yes, I get it, I totally get it, but I'd like to refer back. You put a pack together from. So I did that, and then I started to do the anxiety workshops in schools. So I would work with the children during the day and the parents that night, because I think this idea of shared language and shared, knowledge, when we're all coming from the
same page, yeah,
much easier to communicate with each other and get to the actual goals of what.
Cool. Yeah.
Instead of having the emotional temperature rise, and the defense starting, defending your position, it's much easier to negotiate the difference when you encourage others and have the same language. And then after the parents at night times, I was getting really good response. But again, they were going, we need to take you home. And I'm going, can
we bring you home with us?
Yeah. I was going, okay.
You can tell us what to do.
Yeah, so I was going, okay. The whole point of the session, and they got it, was that they could be really creative within a certain framework. And I was going, okay, so I hear you, But I'm a mom, I have 3 children, I'm working, you know, I did feel that I could write a book. And then COVID happens, and I was like, okay, I can't work. I'm not really into doing online relaxed kids classes. I'm much more person centered. I like to meet the people.
Yeah.
So I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and write.
Wow.
Mm.
So the creative juices were flowing.
I just had,
And I think you've hit also on something there, that the fact of having experience of working with families, okay, you can have your own insights and understanding with your own family, but you were getting a broad spectrum of what it was that people were going through. So you knew the core issues, and you knew what it was that where the focus was, and what it was that people wanted help with. So that was great insight and understanding for the ability for you to put it into your book. And because I haven't seen it yet, so is it like, is there pictures in it, or is it?
would you believe I don't have one right beside me?
We'll do another one again, and you can have it.
Yes, it's small. It's an A4 book.
Yeah.
In total, it's 111 pages.
Okay.
But
and each chapter deals with something different, does it?
So it's the brain. That's the
yeah.
You have to understand how your brain body work. You have to have that connection. And then there's a lot of diagrams on the second chapter so that you would sit down and do with your child and show them the progression of that anxious thought, and how it impact more. The more you sit with that thought like a carrot, the more it grows. So it's really given them, so because some of us are visual, so it's really given them, you know, very solid information as to how their thoughts impact their body and vice versa. And so that's the first 2 chapters. Then there's anchor techniques. If your child is kicking off because the anxiety is overpowering them, what do you do? You know, so there's very simple anchor techniques that you can use to bring them back in.
Anchoring techniques, okay, yeah.
And then there is the chapter on the cactus friend, flower friend, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, and that actually is very, because of the fact that the visual, I mean, we know what a cactus looks like with all the spikes, you know. So
but it's so as well. So a list of a list of behaviors.
Oh, okay.
So they really get it. And then there is the 7 steps. The relaxed kid really explained.
Yeah.
And then the last chapter is on, so you've got it. You've sorted out that anxiety. Your child is great, but actually that's the problem, because now they're like, well, I want this, and it's, you know, we don't always to invest 10 minutes in a conversation about why you can and why you can't. So the last chapter is all about choice theory, and there's a list of words that you can to anchor your conversations with. And they're very empowering, very simple, and it's all about choice. So instead of getting into it and the temperature, emotional rising, yeah, so you can use words to soothe it.
That's fab. And because, and we see it in everyday life, we see it in social media, we see it in the papers, that, you know, stirring things up and making things dramatic sells papers, and getting people riled. It has become, you know, not only just in this country, but in every country, you know, that's how you hook people in, by doing things like that. So for a skill set for the kids to learn that, you know, this is just somebody else's drama, you know, I don't actually have to feed into this, because it's, do you know what, there is a natural inclination to be in it, because then you feel, I don't know, you feel part of a dramatic society, that you're on a play and that you're playing a part. Isn't that terrible? And oh my God, and, you know, and we have it in everyday life. We have people that live it out like that. But it is exhausting, and it is only looking at the world in a specific way, and the world is so much bigger. And we're only seeing a small part of it. So to give the kids that insight, so that they can see, you know, they can see that somebody else's drama, you know, and that it is theirs, and really they don't need to be part of that. because, they prefer their lives the way they are. They don't have to be always on a roller coaster. It's not fun, so it's not.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I think it would be amazing for every child to understand that there's no such thing as feeling good or feeling bad.
Yeah,
Just your emotions, or it's just a thought, and
yeah,
giving them the skills to really deeply understand that in a very simple way, so that
yeah.
they and actually I can bring myself back from a reaction, and I can take a moment and I can respond.
Yeah.
I it took me years to get it.
Yeah. But I think that's, you've done it in your book. It's all the things that took you years to learn. We want to empower our children so that they don't have to go through all of those years, that they can learn that skill and that mindset early on. And can you imagine the type of adults that they're going to turn into? That if everybody was taught like this, I can honestly say there probably would be no wars.
I would
There wouldn't be the whole thing of for one person trying to um, overcome another person with their will so that they can, that they'll do what they do because it's the right way to do it. We'll respect each other's boundaries. We'll respect each other's thoughts and feelings. It's a great place to start. And the more kids that do it, definitely the better. But it also starts with the parents. If you empower, I always say, empowered parents, powerful children, and particularly empowered mothers, because they have the insights and the understandings and the intuition which guides them. That is really, really strong. And if they learn to if they learn to trust that, they're giving huge gifts to their children to be able to follow,
yeah.
their own intuition.
There's less stress, when like
Totally. Yeah.
in the last chapter there's the caring habits, deadly habits, and you know they they make it so easy to honor your child and respect them, but yet hold on to the boundary that you need as the parent. So
Totally,
I
yeah.
think
And those lines have become blurred, because women, and we've had this conversation, like women generationally were put into the family. And that's, I was saying to you, that like for my mom, all of her experiences came through her children because she was confined to home.
yeah,
Like dad went out and worked. So she remembers stuff about my life and stuff that I would have told her over the years that had happened and that I've forgotten because we were her life. That's the way she lived her life, was through the way that her kids were and hoping that they were happy but living their experiences rather than being allowed to live her own. So we're part of the evolutionary process because I'm older than you're younger than me. There are mums that are going to be in their 20s and 30s that are going to learn that, and I think that is huge. Because if they learn to do that, we're hitting, they're also gaining their experience younger. So they've got their whole lifetime. So if you've got, your 20s and 30s, you still got up to your 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s. I was my 50s before I started learning this stuff. And that's why I feel so passionate about it. You cannot, there is always an opportunity to follow your gut. And if something doesn't feel right, you can do something about it and follow your intuition and it'll bring you to what feels right. And it usually comes down to that connection with yourself.
yes, but also that's not to be. We also need to understand that that's self-care.
Yes. Yeah.
That
Well, we never had a name on it before.
that's basic self-care, and
Yeah.
our conversation around self-care and mental health needs to, progress to the mind and the body. You can't
Yes.
mental health if you're exhausted.
Yeah.
You
And
can't mental.
yeah, and I would put in spirit in on top of that because if your mind is busy and your body's in shock, you basically can't be guided. And the spirit is your inner sat nav. Every single one of us have it. We all have our own sat navs. But if your body is in shock and your mind is, you're not you're stuck. as you said, on the hamster wheel. But you can choose to get off, so you can.
Yeah. And it's wonderful when you see it changing. So
Yeah.
for my child, the big thing for us was when she had her first Holy Communion. And so I'm the parent who, I don't need them to be brilliant at anything, but I want them to be present and experience their life as a set of experiences. There's so many things that I'm excited for them to do and see and be part of. And
Yeah.
I think First Holy Communion in Ireland it's the first major, sacrament, major thing that they do.
Yeah.
With their kiddie, in school with their school friends, and they're kind of, they have to walk up the aisle they have to do those little bits without you. And I really wanted her to be fully
Enjoy. Yeah.
present for that experience and really, shine, really just take it in. And that was my yes moment, because she did,
Yeah.
morning. She slept all night. She walked up the aisle, got on the altar, said her little piece, and was thrilled with herself. And that difference shouldn't be underestimated. The fact that she was able to engage and be part of it and have that feeling going, yes, I did it. They're
Yeah.
that build resilience.
Yeah.
The fact
No, you're absolutely, and every experience that they do for themselves, or every decision that they make for themselves, makes them feel a little bit more empowered. And I think that's why, that how easy it can be to disempower a child if we're constantly telling them what to do, that allowing them that piece of autonomy over their lives and their decision making, really.
yes, but also standing back and making them take responsibility for their choices
Yes.
when they don't reach the mark. That's okay too.
Totally. There's a natural cause and effect. So there is. And okay, and the realization, okay, well, maybe things didn't work out, didn't quite work out the way that I wanted to. But I suppose in my life that when things didn't work out, I always, or finished or ended or whatever, I always had in the back of my mind, this is part of creation. This is making way for something better. And the other thing is, if I didn't let it go, if I held on to it, then I was stopping this from happening.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely fantastic. Sinead, that was, I mean, I could literally talk to you all day. And I hope that I will have you back on again. And we might take, you never know what we might delve into over the next couple of weeks and months. So Sinead's book is called Wisdom's Wishes, and it is available on Amazon.
Yep. And on my website, Flanagan.
And on your website, which is called?
SineadFlanagan.ie.
SineadFlanagan.ie. And can I ask, are you going to do, because something came to mind, are you going to do it in the form of audio? Because I think that would be brilliant.
Yeah, well, it's funny, this is new territory for me. So I'm on my feet and getting past my anxiety monkey. Yes, I will. There's a couple of things that I'd really like to do. I probably will at some point turn the book into an online training for parents, because
fabulous.
they're tired. They're when you're in that, you're tired. People can connect with me if you just want to have a conversation. So I'm not sure where I'm at here. Sometimes when you're it's very difficult to understand what's actually happening because you're so busy surviving. So people can book in to talk to me through my website should they need to. I will definitely look at doing it as an audio at some point.
Yeah, no, I think there is that whole thing of seeing stuff, as you know, like the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, all the major ways that we view the world. And for some, they can hear it, but then they've got their mothers, if they've got their mother or their fathers or their siblings or whatever reading a story to them, then they've got their voices, you know, that's passing it on that way, as well as being able to see the words. Absolutely fascinating. Well done to you. Absolutely brilliant. Just the start. It should be nationwide, and it probably will be. I can certainly see that. I think the fact that you have already been part of the schools, and because it is such a thing, our lives are, the outside world comes into our living room every single day. And with that, there comes a whole slew of stuff that we're not responsible for or nothing that we can do about, but the energy of which we take on, which is not very healthy at all. So to have the ability, you know, for the parents to have the ability to choose what it is and what it is they choose to bring in, and what it is that they can choose to de-stress their own lives and bring themselves online, allows them also to bring their children, you know, allow their children to become aligned, rather than online, but aligned with themselves.
Yeah. And actually, Mary, if there's somebody out there with a challenge with their child in terms of bullying, there is a free chapter available on the website. So if you,
great,
yeah, and it's the Cactus Friend, Flower Friend. So I think you would find that really useful. So if you do get an opportunity, go to the website and just download the free chapter.
Yeah, and for those that have just joined, it is www.sineadflanagan.com or .ie.
.ie.
.ie, yeah, no more than myself. .ie. Sinead, it was an absolute pleasure, and I'm so delighted I got to chat with you. I think what you have produced is truly amazing, and so relevant. And as you say, simple. Sometimes the simple is always the best. When I did my NLP course as well, and a lot of the stuff that I learned, and I said, no more than yourself, I said, why aren't we teaching kids about this, you know, in school? This is not rocket science. No. This is so simple. So it is. So I will catch up with you again. My next talk is going to be with Sancha, and I think it's Friday the 21st, and we're going to be talking about mothers and guilt. Oh, so relevant. And maybe we'll do just fireside chats, you know, over the next, where women will just all come together and just talk about their experiences and what worked for them and what didn't, because we have this perception that our lives have to be perfect, and, you know, maybe perfection is just what you're living at the moment, you know. Maybe it's just, we need to take that whole thing off, and if something doesn't feel right, then it's not, and we can do something about it. And yeah, big thing about distress, relax and unwind.
Yep.
Thanks, Sinead. I say I have to figure this out, how to switch this off now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.